All moved out? I asked. Just about, Joseph replied. Great. You're fast. We'll start moving our stuff right away. My brother-in-law, Michael, and his family had it all figured out. As soon as we left the family home, they swooped in, unpacking like they owned the place. Did we make the right call letting them move in? I voiced my concerns to Joseph. He just chuckled. Don't worry, let them have their moment. They'll be the ones calling us for help soon enough. Sure enough, a few months later, Michael called, panicking. I couldn't help but laugh at their grand miscalculation. I'm Mary, and I met Joseph back in college. He was a senior, a year older than me, and at the time, that 1-year gap felt like a lot. Joseph, with his reliability, seemed so mature, and I couldn't help but be drawn to him. As my feelings for him grew, I eventually confessed. Thankfully, Joseph felt the same, and we started dating. Even after graduating and starting our careers, our relationship only deepened. We couldn't imagine life without each other. Joseph proposed 5 years into our working lives. I was overjoyed but a little anxious about meeting his family. Joseph, your dad runs his own business, and your mom comes from a wealthy background. Will they be okay with someone like me? He smiled reassuringly. You're thoughtful and, most importantly, kind. They'll love you. With his confidence lifting my spirits, I met his parents with a pounding heart. So, you're Mary. We've heard so much about you. You're just as lovely and capable as Joseph said. Has he been treating you well? Oh, yes, he's been wonderful, I replied. Just as Joseph predicted, both his father, Daniel, and his mother, Linda, welcomed me warmly. You already feel like part of the family, they said. If we'd had a daughter, we imagined she'd be just like you. I told them sincerely that I already saw them as my own parents. After our wedding and honeymoon, Joseph and I were in a hurry to find a new place. As our condo lease was ending, that's when Daniel made an offer. I'm going overseas for a few months next month for work. It's a laid-back job, so I'm taking Linda along to explore. Why don't you live in our house while we're gone? It'll give you time to find the perfect place. Really? That would be such a help. We had been struggling to find a place, and this offer was too good to pass up. If you don't find something you like, you can stay as long as you need, Linda added, with a touch of hesitation. But are you sure you'd be comfortable living here with your mother-in-law, Mary? I already think of you as my real mother, Linda. Joseph's family home was practically a mansion, with multiple bedrooms and plenty of space. While it wasn't designed for 2 families, it had more than enough room, with guest bathrooms and 2 restrooms. There was only 1 kitchen, but it was easy for me to alternate cooking with Linda. Preparing meals for 4 was actually more enjoyable than just cooking for 2. Since we got along well, there were only perks to living together. We gratefully accepted the offer and began our new life in Joseph's family home. Shortly after we moved in, his parents threw a housewarming party, inviting all the relatives. You're the guest of honor today. Just relax and enjoy yourself, my mother-in-law told me. I smiled, happy to listen to stories from relatives I rarely saw. You found yourself a wonderful wife, Joseph, the relatives would say. And every time, my mother-in-law and I exchanged knowing smiles. But soon, I noticed something odd. Joseph's older brother was missing. Joseph, the second son, has an older brother named Michael, 2 years his senior. While most of the family had shown up, Michael and his wife were conspicuously absent. Where are Michael and his wife today? I asked my father-in-law, Daniel. His expression turned slightly somber. They're fine, don't worry about it, he said. I was still confused, so my mother-in-law, Linda, elaborated. Michael used to come to every family event, but ever since he married Jessica, he's been more distant. I had heard from Joseph that his mother had always favored Michael, and that she strongly disapproved of Jessica, feeling she had changed her beloved eldest son. In the end, neither Michael nor his wife showed up that day. Afterward, Joseph and I sent a letter to their home, informing them of our move and offering greetings. A few days later, I got a phone call from Michael. Is Joseph there? His tone was brisk. Michael, Joseph's at work right now. Can I take a message? You're Joseph's wife, right, Mary? Yes, it's been a while. So, why are you 2 living in the family home?
Uh,
We sent a notice, our new address is at our parents' house.
yeah.
Well, I heard, but when I found out you held a housewarming party at my parents' house, I couldn't believe the nerve, and now you're actually living there? Unbelievable. It was clear Michael wasn't pleased about our arrangement. Phone calls aren't enough. I'm coming over this weekend to talk. Daniel will be away, preparing for his overseas trip next weekend, I replied. I'm not coming to see Dad. I want to talk with you and Joseph. Joseph might be tied up with work too. Then you'll do. And just like that, Michael came to visit us that weekend. My mother-in-law was thrilled to see him after such a long time, but the tension between us hung in the air. Mom, you're here too? Michael asked, sounding surprised. Of course, she replied warmly. I've been looking forward to seeing you, Michael. I'm heading overseas with your dad next week, so I'm glad we could meet before then.
Yeah.
I heard Dad got a job abroad. Michael responded with little enthusiasm, his eyes narrowing as they shifted toward me. Since your eldest son is here, why don't you make some coffee? He added, his tone sharp. Oh, right. Sorry about that, I quickly said as I hurried to the kitchen to prepare the coffee. Michael scoffed. Just coffee? No snacks? You really don't get it, do you? When you serve coffee, you're supposed to bring sweets too. Sorry, I muttered, scrambling to find something to serve. As I reached for some store-bought snacks, Michael stopped me with a smirk. You're not seriously planning to serve that, are you? Get some cake from that bakery downtown. I always loved their cakes. Keep that in mind for next time. My mother-in-law, clearly delighted to have her eldest son there, offered no support and simply chimed in. Mary, why don't you go and pick some up? Michael's right, he's always loved their cakes. It was obvious I wasn't getting any backup from her either. All right, I said, swallowing my frustration, as I prepared to head out. As I prepared to head out for shopping, Michael threw in another demand for dinner. Make me a hamburger steak with demi-glace sauce, and don't even think about using store-bought sauce. You're staying for dinner too, and you better not have a problem with that. It's your duty as my brother's wife to entertain me. I went shopping, then rushed back to start cooking, completely occupied by Michael's whims. Despite his claim that he wanted to talk, I barely had time to breathe, let alone have a conversation. When dinner was finally ready, and I thought we could finally sit down and talk, Michael dropped a bombshell. Why are there 3 plates? Well, because Linda's here, right? If Mom's here, of course she's eating with us. Michael glared. The only person in the way is you. In the way? I asked, stunned.
Yeah.
I want a quiet dinner with Mom. There's no seat for you. You've got to be kidding, I protested. But Michael wasn't kidding. After making me prepare an entire meal, he kicked me out of the house. I ended up eating alone outside and only returned when I thought the coast was clear. Can we talk now? I asked Michael when I finally had the chance. That talk is unnecessary now, he said dismissively. What do you mean? Jessica and I have decided we're going to live in this house. You and Joseph will have to leave. What? We've already moved in. Michael turned to his mother. Don't you think it's better for me, the eldest son, to stay in this house, Mom? Linda looked regretful as she turned to me. Mary, I'm sorry. It was clear that Michael stepping up as the eldest son gave my mother-in-law some peace of mind. Michael's grin widened as his mother sided with him. See, even Mom agrees with me. So, get your things packed and move out, Michael said, leaving in high spirits. I was stunned, and by the time Joseph came home from work, I was still trying to process everything in the bathroom. What's wrong, Mary? He asked gently. I told him everything Michael had said. Michael said that? Joseph was furious. He immediately called his father, who was overseas, to report what had happened. After the call, Joseph turned to me, his face softening with apology. I'm so sorry you had to deal with this. Let's move out and find a place of our own. With Joseph's encouragement, I began packing our things. Just as we were about to leave, Michael called. You done moving out? We're about to leave, I replied. Good. You're fast. We'll bring our stuff over soon. The moment we left, Michael and his family moved in, acting as if they owned the house. Did we make the right choice? I asked Joseph as we watched Michael and Jessica settle in, doing as they pleased. Don't worry about it, Joseph reassured me. Let them do what they want, they'll regret it soon enough. And just as Joseph predicted, a few months later, we got a frantic call from Michael. Hey, Mom and Dad just called me, they're coming home from the airport. What's going on? Isn't it obvious? Their overseas assignment is over, they're coming back. I thought they'd be staying there for longer. I didn't hear anything about them coming back so soon. I thought this house was ours now. We always planned to live together when they got back. You knew that when you forced us out, didn't you? Jessica refuses to live with them, but their stuff is still in the house. Where did you think they were going to live? Michael hesitated, then became defensive. I thought they left behind the stuff they didn't need. You sold it? You sold their belongings?
Yeah.
Jessica said if they didn't need it, we might as well make some money off of it. I was shocked. My in-laws had left behind valuable items, jewelry, watches, heirlooms. If Michael and Jessica had sold them, the amount would be enormous. So, where's the money now? I asked, dreading the answer. It's gone. We spend it, like a bonus. What happens when they find out? Michael sighed heavily. It's only a matter of time, I guess. Damn, what should I do? Mary, can you come over and help? Help? Why should I? You're Mom's favorite over Jessica, aren't you? Help me out by making it look like Jessica pushed for all this. Protecting the eldest son is your duty as my brother's wife. I was stunned by his audacity. Don't kid yourself. There's no way I'd ever lift a finger for a disrespectful couple like you. Please, I'm sorry for everything. An apology won't fix this. You made the mistake. You need to take responsibility. Isn't that the rule of the eldest son? I replied, throwing his own words back at him. Ignoring his pleas, I hung up and went straight to Joseph. He laughed when I explained the situation. Of course Jessica wouldn't agree to live with Mom and Dad again. Dad even told me we can live wherever we want until they give up and leave. He's covering all our moving and rent expenses. So you knew this all along? I asked, realizing why Joseph had been so calm about moving out. I figured if I told you, you might accidentally tip them off. Sorry for not saying anything. I smiled, feeling a wave of relief. No worries, I'm just glad it all makes sense now. As expected, Michael and Jessica had nowhere to go after we moved out. With no savings and their lease cancelled, they were stuck waiting for my in-laws to return. But when Daniel and Linda arrived home from the airport and found out their valuables had been sold, they were furious. I never thought you'd be so irresponsible, Daniel shouted. You're not worth retraining. Get out now. Wait, I didn't know you were coming back so soon. I thought Jessica and I could live here, Michael pleaded, desperate. Isn't Mom on my side? Even Linda couldn't protect him this time. Michael never wanted to live with us. I was foolish to think he'd change. My in-laws handed Michael and Jessica the bills for the jewelry and watches they had sold and ordered them to leave. The couple was shocked. We can't pay this. We don't have anywhere else to go, Jessica cried. And I don't even have a job, Michael added. Daniel's patience snapped. Unbelievable. You blew through that much money in just a few months? Being jobless isn't an excuse. You need to work and pay it all back. Daniel's harsh words finally sank in. Jessica took on multiple part-time jobs, using every cent to repay the debt. Michael, too, had to put his salary toward the repayment plan. They ended up living in a small, inexpensive apartment, scraping by on what little they had left. Later, Daniel and Linda visited the condo Joseph and I had moved into. Mary, Linda said, her voice soft with regret, I'm truly sorry. I got caught up in the idea that Michael could live with us. I smiled warmly. It's okay. Really, it's in the past now. No, it's not okay, Linda insisted. I want to ask again, would you and Joseph consider living with us? Her sincerity was clear. Joseph and I exchanged a glance, both of us knowing what the other was thinking. We nodded in unison. If Daniel and Linda are okay with it, we'd love to move back into the house, I said. And just like that, we agreed to live together again as a family of 4. Despite everything, I felt this whole ordeal had only strengthened my bond with my in-laws, bringing us closer than ever before.